Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Mr. Ralph Baer, creator of the first ever home video game console, the Magnavox Odyssey, released in 1972. Mr. Baer also created the highly successful pattern-matching Simon toy, released in 1978. It is a great pleasure today to be speaking with the father of video games, Mr. Ralph Baer. Thank you for being with us today, sir. It is an honor.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start off with the first question. Can you tell us how you got started in the industry and where it has taken you over the years?
Yeah, very straightforward. I came to New York from Europe in 1938. Worked in a factory for a while. Taught myself radio and television from a correspondence course at National Radio Institute. They're still around today. So I became a technician, ran 3 radio stores on the east side and the west side of New York before I got drafted, going up in the Army for 3 years overseas, back in the same place I came from, Europe. So after the war, I went to school on a GI Bill and became a television engineer by degree, a natural continuation of my technician experience. So that's how it all started.
Wow, fantastic. What inspired you to get into television engineering, which was pretty unique at the time?
Well, as I said, I had taken a course on radio and television servicing, even before the war, in 1939, at the World's Fair time and the years thereafter, I serviced early television sets like RCA, TRK 9s and TRK 12, 9-inch and 12-inch television sets. So I was already into the television era long before most of you were born.
Way before. Did you ever get the feeling that, okay, we have a TV, we can watch it, now let's see if we can interact with it?
Well, clearly. It first came to me when I worked for L'Oreal after I came out of college in 1951. Actually, there was another job in between, but when I worked for L'Oreal, I got hired to build a television set, which I did from scratch with another guy, Leo Beiser, who later became a great light in the laser heavens. And while we were building that set, I had this concept of doing something manually that would move symbols around the screen. And that idea was the result of using a piece of test equipment that was capable of putting lines and bars and lines on the screen for adjusting the television set. That was very neat. So I said, hey, we want to put something like that into a television set. Management set the predictable, late delivering what you're supposed to be doing, forget it, So the concept of doing something interactive with a television set might have been born there, but lay dormant until it came back up in 1966, like 15 years later. By this time, I'm a very senior person, having moved up from senior engineer to chief engineer to a VP for engineering, and now I'm at Sanders Associates running a group of 500 engineers and technicians, support people.
Oh, wow. And was it around that time that you had 4 pages that you had the brown box all planned out on, correct?
Well, the brown box came a couple of years later, but you're right about the 4 pages. I have the concept, as some documents showed, sometime in March or May of 1966, but it wasn't until I came back to me while I was visiting on business in New York. I scribbled some notes. And next morning in my office on September 1st, 66, I wrote that 4-page paper, which anyone can access by going to the Smithsonian website and typing in video games Baer. It'll all come up because they have all my documents. In that 4-page document, I pretty much laid out the whole thing. I made a whole series of games and the basic concept of interacting with a television set and controlling what was going on the screen.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
In 1969, when you had the brown box in the final stages, what was the reception like when you demonstrated the unit?
Well, the brown box actually was the end of a line of 7 consecutively different, better, more complicated video game consoles. We demonstrated the brown box in '69 to mostly U.S. manufacturers of television sets like RCA, GE, Sylvania, Motorola, GE, you name them. They all came and they all said, hey, this is creative, this is terrific, but nobody moved off a dime except for RCA. And we negotiated with them for a while. The contract I was trying to write became so onerous we walked away from it. But luckily for us, somebody on the RCA team left RCA, started as a VP for marketing in the New York office of Magnavox. And he told the guys in Fort Wayne at the headquarters, the Magnavox headquarters, to take another look at this concept. So we got invited to demonstrate in Fort Wayne, and Jerry Martin, who controlled all video products, television sets, also radio, phonographs and the like, and controlled a factory in Tennessee. He said, we're going, just like that. One guy with vision. And that's what started the whole thing. And then, as usual, the lawyers took a year and a half to consummate an agreement between us. And then the engineers at Magnavox had all of 6 months to come up with a production design. So they basically copied our brown box, which was a bad idea because things moved so fast in electronics that the design was already obsolete, being based on technology that was 6-7 years old. But that's what went into the Odyssey 1 that came out in 1972. First home television game anywhere. The term video game didn't come along until years later.
Oh, I see. So Magnavox in the end came up with the design, like the casing for the Magnavox Odyssey, correct?
It is more than that. I mean, they had to design the thing so it could produce in the first place. In the second place, they had to do all the physical design, as you said, the cabinetry, the external hand controls, all of but more importantly, they had to meet the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, requirements on spurious radiation from the machine, which was always tough. And that meant shielding the section of the game that replicated the Channel 3 or Channel 4 transmitter so it wouldn't emit undesirable signals. That was a fairly demanding job. They did it well because they passed the FCC test on the first try.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I remember reading a story that consumers initially thought that the Magnavox Odyssey could only be played on a Magnavox television set. Was this a huge obstacle to overcome, or was it fairly easy working with the marketing with Magnavox?
Well, I mean, if you going to publish something, if you want to, I'll show you several commercials. They're short, about 30 seconds long. They don't take much memory, so I can send them by email if you wish. So Magnavox's attempt to show that it's a universal piece of equipment can be attached to any set. But initially, there was this problem. Magnavox's television sets and radios were sold largely by company-owned or company-controlled stores. And that sort of got the idea wrong at first. And I was kind of critical of that, too. But they fixed it along the way. You might consider that by the time 2 years, roughly 2.5 years passed, some 350,000 Odysseys were out there. And after all, their home games, these 3 or 4 people, plus visitors, got acquainted with what it's like to play games on a home television set. There were a couple of million people playing games by 1974.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In 2006, you made history again by donating all your prototypes and documents to the Smithsonian, and you also received the National Medal of Technology from President George W. Bush. What was that like?
Well, as far as the ceremony is concerned, hardly can get any better. My entire family was there, so were the families of others who were getting the National Medal that day. And we had to run of the White House, one of the wings. Each of the the honorees for the day had a personal honor guard, and just sitting in the White House and for several hours prior to the ceremony, looking around, seeing all that fancy furniture, looking at all these well-known pictures hanging on the walls. It's quite an experience. Of course, the ceremony was very impressive, and it doesn't really get much better than that. Yeah.
Absolutely, I bet.
I might mention, though, that I had donated all my documents and all the prototypes to the Smithsonian several years before that.
Oh, interesting. What year did the brown box go to the Smithsonian? Did you donate?